Hi, welcome to this edition of Digital Discoveries. And in this edition, we're kind of talking to our teachers because we're going to be visiting some of the K12 resources that are on iTunes U, which is iTunes University. So welcome, glad you joined us today. Now, we've actually, in Digital Discoveries, looked at iTunes U in the past. So we're kind of revisiting some of the stuff that's there because they've added a whole lot more in K12. When we kind of looked at it a long time ago, there was just a little bit of information on K12 up there on iTunes U. Since that time, Apple has opened it up to any district, any education provider that wants to post material in iTunes U. They've done that, and so a lot of districts, a lot of states have stepped up to the plate, and they're now posting material in iTunes U. So what we're going to look at is the material that Texas is putting up, and I'll show you how to get there. I'll show you some of the material there. There's a lot more than I can show you in just a few minutes, but I encourage everybody out there to go explore the material that's out there. iTunes U is what's called an aggregator. And what an aggregator does is it takes materials from all different sources and puts them in a simple place for you to find, so you don't have to go looking all over the internet for information. It kind of puts it in a single place. We've done that before. We've looked at lots of different kind of aggregators of information. Thinkfinity is an example of one of the aggregators that we've looked at in the past. iTunes U is one. Podcasts are another. So let's kind of jump in. Let's go look at iTunes U. And we're going to start from how to get there to how to find the information. So I'm going to pop out of this particular program, and let's go find iTunes U. Now, everybody's computer, if you're a teacher in EPISD, you have iTunes on your laptop or your teacher computer. So you should be able to get to it. You have to go to iTunes to get to iTunes U on your desktop or your laptop. So let's go look for it. If you notice down here, on our computer, we're using a Macintosh, but PCs are very, very similar. You want to look for the little logo that's iTunes, so we click on it, and that'll take us to iTunes. Now, what we want to do, if you've got some music in your iTunes library, it'll pop up to that music first. And so what we want to do is we actually want to go to the iTunes Store, because in the iTunes Store, that's where iTunes U is located. So what we want to do, if you notice over here in the upper right-hand corner, if you're not in your library, there's a little button that says iTunes Store, and we want to click on that, and that'll get us out there. You can toggle back and forth between your library and the iTunes Store, of course, by just clicking that library button or the iTunes Store button. Now, Apple wants to sell you something. So the very first thing that you're going to pop up is all these different things that they want you to buy. Albums, CDs, music, movies, all this kind of stuff. We don't want to buy anything. What we want to do is we want to go to iTunes U. So up at the very top, you'll notice that along this in this bar across the top, there's all the things that they want you to buy: music, movies, TV shows, there's apps, books. But the last two, podcasts and iTunes U, those are the ones that we're interested in. And so in iTunes U, if you just click on that button, if you just click on it, it'll take you to the iTunes U portion of the iTunes Store. But let's go ahead and click on it and see what happens. It'll access that portion. And so when you get to that portion, you get iTunes U. Now, most people associate iTunes U with university level material or stuff that Stanford or Harvard or all these different universities are putting out. And that's absolutely true. There are a lot of university level material, which are great for our students. You should encourage them to go explore that material as well. But there's stuff in there specifically for K12. So let's go find it. And the way to find it right at this minute, before they rearrange things if there's a new version or something like that, is over on the right-hand side, you'll notice that in the iTunes U, there's a category there. It says University and Colleges Beyond the Campus. We're interested in this one right here, K12. That's where we're at. That's where information that's appropriate to K12 educators and classes is. So we're going to click on that, and when we pop in there, you'll see that everybody that's participating and putting content up on in the K12 area is there, and you'll just notice that it's from all over the place. It's from all over the world. So you'll have everything from Arkansas to Australia, from Tasmania to Texas is on the K12. And so what we're interested in specifically is Texas, and so that would be under T. But before we hit to Texas, I want to let you know that there is a lot of material from other states that are putting up information that is valuable to us as teachers, us as educators. For instance, California might have reading strategies posted online that you can watch and share. Arkansas might have some interesting materials. I know Florida has some really good technology integration matrices up here on their iTunes U site. So don't dismiss something just because you've never heard of it before. If it's there might be some really good professional development material that you can do your do-it-yourself professional development on. So let's go down to T, because that's where Texas is going to be, I hope. And you can see that there's not a whole lot in Texas. There's a lot more C's than there are T's, but somewhere in Texas you're going to see that there's Texas Education. And so that's where material that's put up on iTunes U goes through the Texas Education Agency. It's vetted by the Texas Education Agency. They post it up online. So this Texas Education site kind of run by Texas Education Agency. They don't make all the material for it, but in order for it to get to that site, it has to be vetted by the Texas Education Agency. So let's click on that and see what kind of material we've got. When you click on K12 Texas Education, you go to this site, and you can see that there's a whole lot of information up there. And so this is the Texas Education on iTunes U. You'll notice that that logo kind of looks similar to the Project Share logo that you've probably seen if you've been up on Project Share. So you'll see that there's lots and lots of material. Just the first part is going to be what's the most popular up there at the very top. So you can see that there's STAR stuff, there's stuff with teaching with interactive physics, there's OnTrack for college readiness, there's stuff about Project Share, Texas Student Data System. There's even our little program that we do here, Digital Discoveries. It's it's posted up online. So you can see there's lots of really interesting stuff up there. And it's not all material that's produced by the Texas Education Agency. For instance, let's go ahead and look at some science stuff here. Okay, I'm going to click on OnTrack. Now, OnTrack, if you're not familiar with OnTrack, are some very interesting courses that if you're taking them in Project Share, it's actually entire courses. So there's entire courses of biology, physics, all those core area courses they're actually creating them and posting up online that your students can use as intervention strategies, or they can use to follow along with you. If they're not getting something in class, they can get it on OnTrack. So you can use OnTrack as supplemental material. You can also use it if you're thinking about flipping your classroom and giving your students something to look at outside of the classroom. You can use that OnTrack material in iTunes U. So here's some very interesting ones called Biology Kid-to-Kid videos. And you're like, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I wanted to show you some of the interesting ones that are up here. There's just one, we'll start with that one, called Cell Transport. And you'll notice that they have cell transport. They have these both in English and Spanish. Now, not every one that you do is going to be in English and Spanish, but a lot of them are. So let's go ahead and look at cell transport. I'm going to click on it, and let's see what kind of material they put up. It takes a second depending on your connection, how fast they'll get there. So.
Hey y'all, it's your boy Chucky D, and I just got a text from Andre in Houston. He said, hey D, you're supposed to be the science pro, so I got a question for you. Why do your fingers get all wrinkled up in the pool or shower? Well, H-Town, that's a pretty awesome question, but the answer is easy, osmosis. Let's back it up again. Let's start with diffusion, okay? Diffusion is just a big word that means molecules will spread out from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. Duh, right? It's like when a guy walks into a party wearing way too much cologne. At first, the people by the door have to breathe in his odor, and eventually we're all suffering. Those odor molecules all sort of concentrate at the beginning, and then, as they start to spread out, they'll bounce off each other, and eventually the whole room stinks. Well, H-Town, all molecules diffuse this way, alright? What we care about is water. When there's a higher concentration of water on the inside of a cell, it will diffuse outside, and when there's more on the outside, it'll move on in. And
so you kind of get the idea of how this works. This is that's some of the OnTrack. Now, of course, they're not all kid-to-kid videos. Some of the OnTrack courses are actually complete courses of information. I just happened to pull this particular one up, and so there's a whole series of kid-to-kid videos. So that looked like middle school kind of stuff, middle school material, and I'm sure, I guarantee you that those will hit your teaks because they're vetted again through the Texas Education Agency. So I'm going to pop back, and to get back to where you were at, there's always these little buttons up here. Now you should be familiar with the play button and the rewind button and the fast forward button, but these buttons here will pop you back to the last place you were, just like on your browser, just like on a school like on any kind of browser, Explorer, Firefox, Safari. So let's look at some other things that are here. I wanted to, and again, I'm kind of showing science-related stuff, but they're not all science. There's some stuff put out by, for instance, the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. So here in El Paso, we're kind of geographically isolated. We're way out here in the middle of hundreds and hundreds of miles of desert, Chihuahuan desert. But I know that we're required to show kids all about the different areas of Texas, and it's kind of hard for them to visualize without some kind of video. So the Texas Parks and Wildlife material actually has lots of stuff about those different areas in Texas. For instance, here's a whole one just on the state of the Gulf. And so these are little 2-minute videos, 3-minute videos on the state of the Gulf. So if you click on that and pop on those from Texas Wildlife Department, same thing. You can use these as materials in your class. And so you can see that they're pretty well.
Hypoxic zone can reach to about 7,000 square miles. If that zone continues to expand as it seems to be doing, it expands toward Texas. And so imagine the entire upper Texas coast from Galveston to Sabine Pass having water with no oxygen in it for all the summer. That's a real possibility.
The United States is blessed with this big blue chunk called the Gulf of Mexico that delivers so much to us that we have in the past thought of as free and infinite in its capacity to recover no matter what we did to it. But we're learning that this is a shared ocean and that we need to work to understand it and to take care of it and to.
So you can see that these types of materials can be used as engagement portions of your lesson. They can be used as materials that you can use to flip your classroom. They can be used as materials to test for understanding, have the students perhaps watch this and then come back and explain it to you. So there's lots and lots of really good material on here for all of us educators. Looks, and I just closed the whole window, so hang on just a sec. There we are. We went back. And so you can see I hit the wrong back button. So you can see that there's lots and lots and lots of material, not only for you, but also for your students as well. One of the most popular things that we have here are materials relating to the STAR test. And if you haven't had enough STAR test materials sent your way, you can actually go up online and see the stuff that's produced by the Texas Education Agency. For instance, here's one on the use of space. And so English 1, 2, and 3, reading and writing. Now I know probably by the time you're watching this a little late in the year to get your students ready for STAR test, English 1, 2, and 3, 4, 7 writing, but you have that material ready for you next year. So for instance, they actually, some of these are actually even people making presentations in Austin or at other conferences. They've recorded these materials, posted them up online for you to see. So don't fret if you don't get to go see these materials in person, because they're actually putting them up online for everybody to see.
We've had an interesting couple of years, haven't we, in high school English. I will tell you one good piece of news. We did much, much better in December.
So I wanted to stop that there, because I wanted to kind of show you how you can tell just by looking at the video how long that video is. If we go up to the very top of the screen here, I'll pop it up there. This obviously was a presentation at some kind of conference. A TEA spokesperson or TEA employee was giving a presentation. But you can see that in the play button up here, you can actually see how long this video is. So this video is about 53 minutes, 9 seconds. We've already gone through 50 seconds of that. And so you can fast forward it, you can move it ahead to where you want it to be. You can, if you're bored with the middle part, you can zoom ahead, so you're not stuck watching it if you've gotten to a point where you're like, oh yeah, I already know about that, let's get to something that's more interesting to me. And you can do that with any of these videos that are on the iTunes U account. And again, this is your volume slider. This tells you, makes you loud or soft. And again, these are the play and rewind, that kind of stuff. So if you're familiar with those players, you should be familiar with that. So in order to close the video and not close the whole window like I just did, you want to make sure you find the right button to close. And so to close the window, you find the little X. There it is. This closes just the video window. And that'll take you right back to where you were before. So that's iTunes U. That's iTunes U in Texas Education. It's a great resource. There's tons and tons of stuff just from Texas Education. There's even more from places all over the world. And so again, got some time, got some free time, explore iTunes U. There's lots and lots of really good content on there, and it's just there for you to take. It's all free, and it's all ready for you to enjoy, share with your students, and share with your faculty. And so thanks for joining me for this edition of Digital Discoveries. I had a great time sharing with you iTunes U K12 education resources for Texas. We'll see you next time on Digital Discoveries.